I have been stationed at the Western Gate for 3.5 years. You are on your feet for a long time in this post, and you learn things from being still that you would not learn from moving. You learn which sounds belong to the forecourt and which sounds are wrong. You learn how people move when they are comfortable and how they move when they are not. You learn the difference between someone who is lost and someone who is scared, which is not always the same thing. I am going to tell you about a Sunday in late autumn, and I want to tell it correctly because the account I have given before in the official post log in the debrief is accurate, but it is necessarily short. The log says what happened. I want to tell you why it happened the way it did. The forecourt at the Western Gate is open to the public during visiting hours, which run 9 to 4 on weekdays and 10 to 3 on Sundays. There are always a number of visitors, ranging from a few dozen on a wet winter weekday to several hundred on a busy summer afternoon. This Sunday was late autumn, overcast, cold. There were perhaps 60 or 70 people in the forecourt when the incident started. I noticed the small figure first because of the direction of movement. Most visitors in the forecourt move in patterns toward the gate, along the railing, toward the photography positions near the columns. They move in the patterns that sight lines and interest create. This small figure was moving in no pattern. She was moving quickly without a clear direction, turning twice in the space of about 30 meters. The turning is what I noticed. Visitors who stop to look at the gate or the guard turn once, look, and move on. Someone who turns twice in 30 meters is looking for something that is not where they thought it was. She was small, maybe 4 feet tall, in her blue coat and knitted hat, probably 8 or 9 years old. She was moving with the controlled, fast-walking energy of someone trying not to run in a place where running feels wrong, and her face had the expression that I have learned to read in the forecourt. Not crying, not yet, but very close to it. She was alone. I scanned the forecourt. At the protocol distance, my scan covers the full forecourt in about 15 seconds. I was looking for someone moving toward her, an adult, a parent, someone watching. I did not see anyone moving toward her. The visitors near her were moving away from the gate, finishing their visit, not looking at her. My post is at the gate column. I do not leave the post during duty hours. This is the rule, and the rule exists for reasons I believe in and have never questioned. She turned a third time. She was now about 12 meters from my post position. She looked at the gate column, at me, and looked away. I have been on this post long enough to know that when a small person looks at you and then looks away, that is not indifference. That is the behavior of someone who wants help and is not sure whether they are allowed to ask for it. I looked at her for a full second. I held her gaze when she turned back for the fourth time. She held it too. She walked toward the post. She stopped about 2 meters away, which is outside the protocol distance, she said, and she spoke quietly, which is how I knew she had been raised to be careful in formal places. She said, "Excuse me, I can't find my mom." I said, "When did you last see her?" She thought about it. She said, "By the tall lamp." She pointed toward the eastern section of the forecourt. I said, "What does she look like?" She described her. Dark coat, brown hair, a camera on a strap. Her voice was controlled, but there was a quality in it that told me the control part was costing her something. She had been keeping it together for a while. I activated the duty radio, the small communications unit on my left collar, without leaving the post position. I contacted the visitor liaison team, which is the appropriate channel for a separated visitor situation in the forecourt. I gave the description and the last known location, and I noted the current position of the small person. This is the protocol. While I waited for the confirmation that the visitor liaison team was responding, I looked at the girl. She was looking at the east lamppost. Occasionally she looked up at me. I said, "What is your name?" She said, "Isra." I said, "Iris, the visitor team is looking for your mom right now. They know what she looks like. They are very good at finding people. Can you tell me how long you have been looking?" She thought. She said, "Since the birds." She said it in the way small people refer to things that adults would have time-stamped differently, and I understood that she meant a specific thing she had looked at. I said, "Since the birds on the north side?" She said, "I estimated approximately 12 minutes, not long in objective terms, but in the experience of a small person looking for someone in a crowd, 12 minutes is a very long time." I said, "You are at the right place. Anyone looking for you would look for the guard first. Your mom is looking," she said. "How do you know?" I said, "Because everyone who comes into this forecourt with someone they love knows that if they can't find them, they come to the post. Your mom knows this forecourt. She will be here." I know this is true because the visitor liaison protocol is explicit about it. When a separated visitor situation is reported, the standard guidance to any adult looking for a separated child is to proceed to the nearest guard post. The visitor liaison team gives this guidance because it works. The visitor liaison officer came through the eastern gate at a walk run, the controlled fast walk of a professional who is moving as quickly as possible without alarming a crowd. At approximately 3 minutes and 40 seconds after my radio contact, she was accompanied by a woman in a dark coat with a camera on a strap. The woman saw Iris from about 15 meters and said her name, and then she was running, which is understandable, and then Iris was running, which is also understandable, and the previous controlled quality of the situation in that section of the forecourt became temporarily different. I returned to the forward post position. The visitor liaison officer caught my eye and nodded. I nodded back. That is the protocol for a resolved situation. What I want to say about this and why I am telling it beyond the post log is this. I did not leave my post. I activated the radio and I spoke to the child and I waited for the protocol to do what it is designed to do. Those are the tools I have at my post and I use them. I have thought about whether I could have done more or faster, and I do not believe so. The protocol exists because it is the best available procedure, and in this case it functioned in approximately 3 minutes and 40 seconds. But I also want to say, she walked toward me when she was scared. She stopped at the right distance and she spoke quietly, and she answered my questions, and she waited. For a small person who had been alone and frightened for 12 minutes in an unfamiliar formal place, that required something. I want to note it. There is a version of this post where the guard is a statue. I am not a statue. I'm a person who has taken a position that requires absolute stillness for reasons that are real, and when something happens inside that stillness that requires me to also be a person, I try to be both. Iris found her mother in 3 minutes and 40 seconds. That is what the post is for.